Good day. This is the General and Aquatic Botany subject, and our presentation for today's video is the ecological importance of aquatic plants. This is the group 4 composed of Ablero, Dueñas, Garbes, Clarete, Moreno, Toong, first year fishery student from Iloilo State University of Fisheries, Science and Technology. So our presentation aims to or expected to learn the following. First, we have the ecological importance and definition of terms, aquatic flora's contribution, aquatic flora's interaction, and lastly, aquatic flora's destruction. The objectives of our report aims to have the ecological importance of aquatic plants, contribution of aquatic flora to ecosystems, interaction between aquatic plants to other organisms, effect of pollution, invasive species, and climate change on native flora. So this is the first topic, the ecological importance, or the first part of our topic, the ecological importance of aquatic plants to be reported by Mafi Clarete.
According to the third edition of Encyclopedia of Toxicology, ecology refers to the study of relationships between organisms and their environment, including the interactions between different species and their impact on ecosystems. Ecological importance refers to the significance of the study of ecology, which is the science of how organisms interact with each other and their environment. So, ecology is the study of how living things like trees, birds, and insects interact with each other, and the environment such as forests. It shows us how they depend on one another, like how birds eat insects and trees provide shelter. Understanding ecology is important because it helps us learn how to protect and keep our environment healthy for all living things. Oxygen production. Aquatic plants, just like their terrestrial counterparts, undergo photosynthesis, producing oxygen as byproduct. The oxygen they release is vital for supporting fish and other aquatic organisms, maintaining the balance of dissolved oxygen levels in the water. Nutrient cycling. Aquatic plants and algae play a significant role in nutrient cycling within freshwater ecosystems. They absorb and assimilate nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus, which help prevent the over-enrichment of water bodies and the occurrence of harmful algal blooms. Water plants produce oxygen that fish and other water creatures need to breathe. They also keep the water clean by absorbing nutrients, preventing too much algae growth, which can harm the pond's ecosystems. Habitat and shelter. These plants create diverse microhabitats offering shelter, breeding grounds, and nursery areas from various aquatic species including insect, fish, amphibians, and even some reptiles. Erosion control. Aquatic vegetation stabilizes shorelines and substrates, reducing erosion caused by water, currents, and wave action. This helps to preserve the integrity of the ecosystem and protect adjacent terrestrial habitats. Food source. Many aquatic organisms ranging from herbivores to omnivores rely on aquatic plants and algae as a primary food source. The abundance of these plant-based food items support the entire food chain. So water plants provide homes, breeding grounds, and food for many animals. They also protect the pond from erosion, supporting the entire ecosystem.
Contribution of aquatic flora to ecosystem. Ecological importance as per detailed by 2 New Hampshire Department of Environmental Sciences. These are the contribution of aquatic flora to ecosystems. Aquatic plants provide a food source, habitat, removal of carbon dioxide, and production of oxygen through photosynthesis. Plants act as the producers in an ecosystem since they produce their own food as well as food for the consumers or animals of that ecosystem. Aquatic vegetation provides food for tiny microscopic animals called zooplankton, fish, waterfowl, moose, and other mammals, and in some cases, humans. Aquatic vegetation also acts as a habitat. Aquatic plants like those found in lakes and rivers are super important for the whole ecosystem. Think of them as the backbone of underwater. Here's how. Food source. They're like underwater farms. Tiny animals like zooplankton, fish, birds, even a moose and sometimes humans eat these plants. Habitat. They provide shelter and breeding grounds for a variety of animals. Imagine a fish hiding in a bed of reeds or a bird nesting in a cattle marsh. Oxygen production. Like all plants, they use sunlight to make their own food, or we call it photosynthesis. As a byproduct, they release oxygen into the water, making it breathable for the fish and other creatures. Carbon dioxide removal. They also absorb carbon dioxide from the water, helping to keep it clean and healthy. In short, aquatic plants are essentials for a healthy and balanced ecosystem. Submerged vegetation provides a habitat for a small fish which may seek refuge from predators. They may also use this vegetation as spawning beds to lay their eggs. Emergent vegetation provides a habitat for a certain songbirds or wading birds that may nest at these sites or use them as a feeding areas. Aquatic plants are essentials for lakes and ponds because they provide food for animals like zooplankton, fish, and even humans. They offer shelter and safe breeding areas for fish and nesting spots for birds. Additionally, they help keep the water clean by removing carbon dioxide and producing oxygen, making them vital for a healthy underwater ecosystem. Many insects use the leaves of floating plants to deposit eggs and to feed. Not all aquatic plants are nuisances which require removal. Native plants provide many benefits to the lake, including spawning and habitat areas for organisms in the lake, as well as fishing and wildlife viewing areas for residents around the lake. Aquatic plants also provide several items which humans use. Some of these include rice, cranberries, blueberries, fiber for rope, reeds for canning, herbs, medical compounds, and aesthetic items such as flowers and colorful fruits and berries for decorations. The wildlife that resides in and around a lake as a result of a healthy habitat adds to its serenity. Melodies sung by the songbirds, the cry of the common loon, the chirping of the frogs, dazzling of the dragonflies, the painted turtle sunning itself on a rock, and even the majestic herons would be threatened if it weren't of the food and habitat which aquatic vegetation provide. Aquatic plants are vital for lake and ponds because they provide habitats and food for insects, fish, and wildlife. They offer important spawning areas for fish and contribute to the beauty and serenity of the environment. Additionally, these plants benefit humans by supplying food like rice and cranberries, materials for building, and even medicinal compounds. Overall, they play a crucial role in maintaining a healthy ecosystem for both nature and people.
So the third part of this report is the interaction between aquatic plants to other organisms. So in our report, we have detailed 4 interactions. It's interaction to fishes, interaction to microbiome, interaction to freshwater, and interaction to antibiotics. So in this our report, we have only given the bullet points, so we will be summarizing each bullet point. So the first bullet point here, these bullet points are from the study of Kilgore, 1993, entitled Relationship Between Fish and Aquatic Plants, a Plan of Study. So first, the idea that he mentioned is that the habitat value of plants to fishes and the continuing emphasis on environmental consequences of corps and of engineers, aquatic plant control projects requires that fish or plant interaction be thoroughly understood. So it is essential for us to understand the relationship between the aquatic flora and to the fishes. Second, Structural heterogeneity of aquatic plants beds contributes to high numbers of many species of fish that associate with this complex habitat. So it is said that these aquatic plants also help to produce more habitat for our fishes. Example, we have the sunfishes, and the main point there is that not only a vital habitat component of aquatic system but also a source of revenue and recreation for many people. So they recreate this aquatic system in order not only for the fishes but also for the economic value and so on and so forth. We also have the fishery management potential in vegetated habitats is poorly understood. So maybe it is a call to action for us that we need to have a thorough research about this study. And lastly, to understand relevant interrelationship, that it says that here he mentioned that researchers must first define and then classify fish habitat created by aquatic plants, develop innovative, precise, and accurate sampling schemes. We also need to identify and understand the function of these habitats, develop modified management plans, incorporating the information collected, and finally, but probably, and most importantly, to initiate the interdisciplinary exchange of data and cooperation between fishery, biologists, aquatic plant managers, aquatic ecologists, botanists, and limnologists. Aquatic plants to evolution of freshwater ecosystems. So the first bullet point aims to provide us the idea about the factors in ecology of our lakes, streams, rivers, and reservoir. So the aquatic plant distribution for this is that it became important because it contributes something in the factors that makes our lakes, streams, rivers, and reservoir to generate more habitats. Next, the submerged aquatic plants. In the submerged aquatic plants, exotic and native, also serving as the contributor of autogenous organic carbon to lakes, and as a result, the biochemical cycle and productivity, and its result is the biochemical and productivity sa freshwater systems. So here in our presentation, we also detailed the authors and we have a citation about that, so that you can have the access and can read thoroughly about their studies if you would like to. Next, in addition, aquatic plants beds decay and supply organic detritus for the aquatic food web. So yung remainings of the aquatic plant that rotten is beneficial for the other organisms too. Maybe there are some other aquatic species that it serves as a food for them, so it is important to have these aquatic plants bed decay. Aquatic plants to microbiome. Biofilms to plant surfaces is the main way bacteria interact with plant tissue. So it is important to have an interaction with plant tissues because there in plant tissues is where the photosynthesis happens, and it enables the plants to generate its own food and for the survival. It needs nutrients, organic carbon, oxygen to microorganism. In return, aquatic plants mainly receive mineral nutrients and defensive immunity. So in the plant surfaces is where usually the actions of the plants for survival usually happen. So it is important to detail that biofilms helping the plant surfaces for it to expand more, to enable the actions to be to happen in this area. And lastly, we have the aquatic plants to antibiotics. So in the study of Liu et al. 2018 together with Zhang et 2021 and Wang et al. 2021, they said that aquatic environment is one of the most important sinks for antibiotics, with their presence detected in many water bodies including lakes, rivers, and farmed waters. So the population or the development of the antibiotics there is relevant in the aquatic environment. So the aquatic plants also serve as one of the supporting factor that enables for the presence of antibiotics to grow there. Guo et al. 2020 also states that antibiotics have toxic effects on aquatic plants. For example, impaired aquatic plant growth can decrease the capacity to eliminate contaminants from the water column. To optimize the effectiveness of aquatic plants in removing antibiotics, it is imperative to comprehend the potential hazard of antibiotic toxicity to aquatic plants. So, there is another side that we need to know, that antibiotics have also toxic effects on aquatic plants, but there is some study that states that aquatic plants have the capacity to grow these antibiotics, but in return, it's sadly that antibiotics serve as a main factor for the toxicity to aquatic plants. For the third bullet, it said that widespread presence of antibiotics in water bodies resulted the inevitable interaction between antibiotics with aquatic plants. So it is not, it is a natural way, or the usually happens to antibiotic and aquatic plants to have an interaction between them. It is because of the varying toxicity of different antibiotic species and the differences in aquatic plant sensitivity. But uncertainty regarding the potential toxic effects and risks to antibiotics in aquatic plants, it must have this antibiotic and the presence of antibiotic. Although that the antibiotic serves as the one of the toxics to the aquatic plants, but it is also stated that it is stated before that it is inevitable to have an interaction. So to sum up, we have the plants interaction in general. So we have this abiotic and biotic factors. To abiotic factors, we stated that aquatic plants need sunlight, water, carbon dioxide, nutrients to grow. So this is what our plants need in order to survive: sunlight, water, and etc. We also have abiotic factors, which include the temperature, dissolved oxygen, water movements, and pollutants. For the biotic factors, we have bacteria. It provides nutrients and plant hormones to the plant. Herbivores. Some herbivorous wildlife eat aquatic plants. Aquatic animals. Aquatic plants provide cover for aquatic animals like fish, amphibians, and aquatic insects. Benthic invertebrates. Aquatic plants create a substrate for benthic invertebrates. And lastly, to antibiotics, the exposure of antibiotics can increase the abundance of resistant bacteria in the water ecosystem. This is from the due to the transmission of antibiotic resistance genes. So we have images here below. These three images represents the summation or the summary of aquatic plants interaction to other organisms. So just like to the first photo, we can see there that it is a picture of a lake wherein we can see some aquatic plants. We also have here birds. So it is for us to understand the importance of the interaction that happens there. In the second image, it is a mapping wherein the aquatic plants is the main topic there. So there's many factors or many bullet points, many ideas that we would like to include regarding the aquatic plants interaction to other organisms. And lastly here is the process of the interaction that happens between plants and to other organisms, between the aquatic plants and other organisms.
How pollution affects the native fauna. These pollutants disturb the metabolic system of economically important plants. Different physical Factors responsible to sustain aquatic plant life are temperature, BOD, COD, pH, and turbidity. The ecological sustenance of plant species is very much dependent on the quality of water. Heavy metals from the water directly percolate into food crops with stress indicators, antioxidants, or free radical scavenging enzymes since 2013. Pollution harms animals by damaging their habitats, food sources, and health. Water pollution affects aquatic plants and animals by changing water temperature, oxygen levels, and cleanliness. Harmful chemicals like heavy metals can be boiled up in plants, which animals eat, spreading toxins through the food chain. This weaknesses the animals and can reduce their pollutions, affecting the whole ecosystem. Aquatic plants can be polluted by a variety of chemicals, heavy metals, nutrients, and organic matter. These pollutants can be degrade water quality, reduce oxygen levels, and alter pH levels. Some examples of pollutants that can harm aquatic plants include radioactive elements such as strontium, cesium, and radon, metals such as cadmium, mercury, and lead. Some aquatic plants such as water hyacinth, duckweeds, water spinach, water turfs, water cabbage, hydralia, and water grease have been studied for their ability to accumulate toxic contaminants from contaminated water. These plants could potentially be used in photoremediation technology to remove toxic contaminants from water. Pollution harms native fauna by contaminating water and plants with harmful substances like heavy metals, industrial chemicals, and microplastics. These pollutants reduce oxygen, change pH levels, and damage aquatic ecosystem. Some aquatic plants like waters, hyacinth, and duckweeds can absorb toxins and may help clean polluted water through photoremediation, reducing the impact on animals and the environment.
Invasive species cost the UK at least 2 billion every year, with a widespread impact across multiple sectors. They can damage buildings and infrastructure by changing erosion patterns and increasing flooding. Their activity also hinders materials and food production. The cost of eradicating or controlling invasive species to minimize their impact is also considerable. In 2010, it was estimated that American signal crayfish introduced to the UK in 1970s alone cost Great Britain 2,006,089,000. Aquatic species can affect aquatic plants, number of waste species cost in UK at least 2 billion every year, with widespread impact across multiple sectors. They can damage building, infrastructure, and by changing erosion patterns and increasing flooding. Their activity also hinders materials and food production. The cost of eradicating or controlling invasive species to minimize their impact is also considerable. In 2010, it was estimated that American signal crayfish introduced to UK cost 1970 alone cost Great Britain 2,600,000, including disruption habitats. Inclusive species can alternate the habitats and native plants, making difficult for them to survive. Outcompeting native species, invasive species can outcompete native plant species and resource, leading to the extinction of native fauna and flora, affecting food chains. Invasive species can impact food chains by alternating habitats and outfitting native species, decreasing water quality. Invasive species can decrease water quality, increasing competition and predation. Invasive species can also increase competition and predation among species. Spreading disease. Invasive species can spread disease. Invasive species are plants or animals that come from another country and spread quickly in a new place where they don't belong. They are caused with a big problems and cost you in UK at least 2 billion every year. Here's how they can damage. It's also expensive to try to remove or control these species to stop damage. For example, the American signal draperish is a type of freshwater lobster brought to the UK in 1970s caused the damage that cost 2.7 million in just 1 year.
How climate change affect the native fauna. Aquatic ecosystem and global climate change is the seventh in the series of reports examining the potential impacts of climate change on the U.S. environment. It details like the impacts of climate change over the next century of U.S. aquatic ecosystem reports author Dr. N. Lereput, Mark Wendens, and John Day Jr. finds. Invasive species are non-native plants or animals that cause problems in the UK, costing over 2 billion each year. They damage buildings, increase flooding, harmful production, and disrupt natural ecosystem. Controlling or removing them is expensive. For example, dealing with American signal crayfish cost nearly 2.7 million in 2010. These species also harm aquatic plants and animals, making it harder for native species to survive. How climate change affects the native fauna. Aquatic ecosystem and global climate change is the seventh in the series of reports examining the potential impacts of climate change on the U.S. environment. It details its likely impacts of climate change over the next century on U.S. aquatic ecosystem, reports author Dr. N. Lowry Woods, Wendens, and John Day finds. Increases in water temperature as a result of climate change will alter fundamental ecological processes and the geographic distribution of the aquatic species. Such impacts may be unmatured of species attempt to adapt by migrating to suitable habitat. This is composition ecosystem production. Population of aquatic organisms are sensitive to change in the frequency, duration, and timing of express presentation events, such as floods or droughts. Changes in the seasonal timing of snowmelt will alter stream flows, potentially interfering with reproduction. In short, climate change could cause big problem for aquatic ecosystem and the plants and animals that depends on them. Climate change is likely to further stress sensitive freshwater and coastal wetlands, which are already adversely affected by a variety of other human impacts, such as algal flow, means and deterioration of water quality, wetland and critical habitat for many species that are poorly adapted for other environment conditions and serve as important components of coastal and marine fisheries. Aquatic ecosystem has a limited ability to adapt to climate change, reducing the likelihood of significant impact to this system will be critically dependent on human activities that reduce other sources of ecosystem stress and enhance adaptive capacity. This includes maintaining riparian forests, reducing nutrients loading, restoring damaged ecosystem, minimizing groundwater withdrawal, and strategically placing any new reservoirs of minimum effects. Climate change will worsen the stress on wetlands, which are already harmed by populations and changes to water flow. Wetlands are crucial habitats for many species and support fisheries. Since aquatic ecosystems struggle to adapt, people can help by protecting passage near water, reducing pollution, repairing damaged ecosystem, conserving groundwater, and building reservoirs carefully. This action can reduce harm and help wetlands adapt.
If we we have a problem, we have also solutions. So we provided here 10 ways to help our ocean at home, around town, or on the water. First, conserve water. Second, reduce pollutants, reduce waste, shop wisely, reduce vehicle pollution, use less energy, fish responsibly, practice safe boating, and respect habitat. So if you want to know more about this, you have to read the caption below each. Oh my God. To know more about this solution, you just have to read the captions below. So we would like to end up our report with a quote: "A healthy ocean is vital to our economy and well-being. We need clean and healthy oceans to sustain tourism and fisheries," by Scott Peters. So this is the group 4. Thank you so much for listening. To have videos like this, please subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you.